Hi, welcome back one more time to PennLive.com, talking Penn State football recruiting with Greg Pickel. 19 commitments now with Karamo Diabate, the latest this week, and you have a half dozen prospects, key targets out there left. There's always room for surprises. You never are quite sure what's going to happen if there are new names pop up.
Right.
But for the most part, you have Brendan Ferns, you have Aaron Hansford, Trey Nixon, Jordan Fuller, Andrew Pryts, and Damar Hamlin.
Yep.
Those are the big six to keep watching. And at 19 commitments, Penn State doesn't have room, I don't think, for all six. Not that that's a really realistic possibility, but going forward, these are the names to watch. I think you have a couple who are pretty close to deciding. I would say Brendan Ferns, who's down to West Virginia and Penn State, with no real indicator of which way he might be leaning at this point. There's reason to believe both sides of the story there. Andrew Pryts, it looked like Ohio State all the way.
Yep.
He's a Penn State legacy, but he visited earlier this month, and that has people thinking a little bit differently that he might end up there. Ohio State is a factor for a few of these guys. Hansford, Hamlin, Pryts, Jordan Fuller is another one. So there's some stiff competition. I guess let's just look at the timetables and maybe Ferns and Pryts.
Yeah.
Let's just focus on those two. They seem like the most realistic to decide soon. Who do you like in both of those situations?
When you look at Brendan Ferns' recruitment, this is one that Ohio State was involved in. They don't have his major. What's the major in petroleum engineering? Penn State and West Virginia have it. Ohio State does not. So the school he was most likely to end up at was eliminated by academics. His brother Michael's at West Virginia. He transferred there from Michigan. The family has had a connection to Penn State since Michael was recruited by Bill O'Brien back in the class of 2012. So, or 2013 rather, on Michael. So this is a kid that, yeah, there is reason to believe that he could go one way or the other. And truly, I mean, talking to people around the situation, it doesn't seem like there's really any indication or lean yet. This kid's going to decide one day. No one's going to know what's really coming. But I can't really, pick away or forecast which way he's leaning there. I know, a lot of credible people think he's going to West Virginia, and there's a lot of people that think he could be at Penn State as well. So when you look at Pryts, then this is a guy that hasn't been on campus for a long time, and then sneaks on a couple weekends ago. And for Penn State, they were really treading water in that recruitment. I think it's probably fair to say they weren't really even in it seemed, for a time. I mean,
yeah.
Pryts had been to Penn State a handful of times, and then all of a sudden they just seemed to drop out of the picture. And suddenly, he gets back on campus, and now Penn State's right in the thick of things there. Personally, if he doesn't visit anywhere else before deciding, I think you have to like Penn State's chances to win that recruitment when all is said and done.
Now, look, Jordan Fuller, Aaron Hansford, Damar Hamlin, these are guys who are going to take a little bit longer to decide. I could see both Ferns and Pryts deciding before their high school season start. These other guys are going to take official visits. Trey Nixon, the wide receiver from Florida, he looked like, I'm not quite sure when to expect a decision from him. It seems like he's basically down to Penn State and Georgia, but he is interested in taking visits, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to visit Penn State officially for sure, as last we checked anyway. Georgia's probably going to get one. Auburn will probably get an official visit. So he strikes me as a guy, I could see Fuller waiting until January or closer to National Signing Day. I could potentially see Hamlin waiting that long. I think Nixon, there's kind of three schools in play for him, Georgia, Auburn, and Penn State. I think that, he'll visit all three of those now. Of course, he may wait till towards the end of the season to visit those schools, so that might delay him. But if he takes official visits to 3 games at those schools, this could be wrapped up by Christmas with him one way or the other. So I would probably think Nixon's going to decide before Fuller would, and Hamlin is probably one of those guys that's going to wait a bit as well.
So we'll see. 19 commitments in Penn State's class so far. Some of these guys would rank among the most talented in the class if Penn State were able to seal the deal. And you have to think that at least 1 or 2 of these guys are going to end up at Penn State. We'll see for sure. That's Greg Pickel. I'm Dustin Hockensmith, resetting Penn State's 2016 recruiting board for PennLive.com.